日本時間1月6日、米大リーグ、ブルージェイズに入団が決まった岡本和真選手について、地元メディアが岡本選手を紹介するなど、盛り上がりを見せている地元トロント。また、米メディア、ブルージェイズトゥデイを運営する、ブルージェイズファンは、番組内で岡本選手を分析していました。ここからは、その様子を字幕付きでご紹介します。
The Blue Jays have officially signed Japanese slugger Kazuma Okamoto. The Jays announced today that they have signed the 29-year-old to a 4-year deal worth $60 million U.S. Okamoto was part of the Japan's World Baseball Classic Championship team in 2023. He is a 6-time All-Star in Japan and has posted 248 home runs across his career. Okamoto plays first and third base. And for more on the signing and for what's next with the Jays in the offseason, we're joined by Scott Belford, host of the Walk Off podcast. Scott, it's great to have you on with us. Appreciate your time.
Great to be here. What a fun signing this was.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of Okamoto, can you tell us what you know about him so far and how you might think he'll fit in with the Toronto roster?
Yeah, absolutely. Number one, this is a really interesting signing because one of the things that hasn't been talked about maybe enough is how hard the Toronto Blue Jays as an organization has kind of tried to crack into this Japanese market over the last few years. Their scouting and their presence on the Pacific Rim has been pretty apparent over the last few years, and they've tried on the open market to, bring some of these guys, like the most famous Ohtani, obviously, over, but to get the number one offensive Japanese player in all of the NPB is quite a coup for this Toronto Blue Jays team. And like you stated off the top, he plays primarily first base and third base. So I think we're going to see him take over at the hot corner at third. He has played a little bit of outfield. As we're well aware with the Toronto Blue Jays, they shuffle their position players around. So we might see him taking some reps in left field and maybe giving Vladdy the day off at first. And all of the rumors about Bo Bichette and Kyle Tucker, this is what everyone wants to know, but it's been stated that it seems like they're still maybe in the market for these guys, and they'll deal with the roster crunch after they figure that out.
Yes, I was just going to ask you about Bo Bichette. How does this signing impact what might happen with him?
I'm not sure it fully impacts it. It's definitely going to give the Blue Jays a little bit of leverage when it comes to negotiations with Bo. I mean, the fact that they have an extra infielder now does mean that they could move on from Bichette if that's a direction they decide to go. That said, they've obviously been in contact with his people all along, right? So this is how negotiations work, and this is a big piece of that 2025 team, Bo Bichette. And so you'd love to have that impact back in the middle of the order. And does Okamoto make that less likely? Maybe slightly, but I honestly don't think it's going to impact it quite as much as people may think it is. If there have been offers already made to Bichette, this is something that the Blue Jays would have done the math on and calculated into the payroll, and you just don't rescind an offer. So if Bichette does wind up leaning towards the Blue Jays, I think that's how it's going to play out.
And what would you say the signing says about Toronto's approach in the offseason, especially after coming off that amazing season, almost winning the World Series?
All in? Like, this is about the most all-in offseason I've ever seen the Toronto Blue Jays do. It's been so fun as a Jays fan, especially after watching them go all the way to the World Series and that huge disappointment, and you'd like to get back in the game. And what do right away out of the gate? They signed the most prevalent 2025 free agent pitcher in Dylan Cease. They went out and got the top guy out of Korea in Cody Ponce, and then the top offensive guy out of Japan in Okamoto. So they've been all in, a big bullpen ad in Tyler Rogers. Just very exciting stuff if you're a Blue Jays fan.
Absolutely. It doesn't even feel like the offseason right now. Anything else you think we should be watching for? We do know Okamoto will be speaking to the media on Tuesday, so we'll get to hear from him soon.
Well, I think one of the things for Blue Jays fans to pay attention to is the fact that there is a lot of depth on this team. So we could see an out-of-nowhere trade, somebody move that maybe you weren't expected to be moving. Right now, there's 4 infield spots and there's 6 infielders, and if they go out and get a another outfielder. Same sort of thing happens there. So there's a bit of a log jam. So maybe a guy or two gets moved and we see an extra add to the bullpen or wherever they feel there's an area of need.
Joining us now is MLB.com Blue Jays reporter Keegan Matheson. Keegan, Toronto reportedly makes a big splash, but not the splash most were anticipating. Can you tell us about who Kazuma Okamoto is and how he fits into this Blue Jay squad?
Fascinating addition. And Okamoto, for years now, playing with Yomiuri, which is one of the powerhouses in Japan, has been hitting at the heart of their order. One of the faces of their franchise is a big power bat and really an offensive player. I think he'll play third base for the Blue Jays, maybe back up Vladdy when he needs the odd day off at first base. But you're looking at the offensive upside here. He's had 6 seasons of 30-plus home runs, peaked at 41 home runs playing in Japan. We'll see how that power translates, but I think he's really a Blue Jays player and a Blue Jays hitter. What I mean by that is an ability to work counts, probably annoy some pitchers, and then land that uppercut, deliver some power eventually in the at-bat. Fits the Blue Jays lineup really well. Again, likely as a third baseman, which bumps Ernie Clement to second base for now. But a big addition for the Blue Jays. They've wanted a slice of this Japanese market for a long time. There are going to be a lot of eyeballs on this player, and the Blue Jays, I think, still have some room to go this offseason.
Okay, so if there's still room for the Blue Jays, what does this big move mean for the potential signing of, say, Bo Bichette, Kyle Tucker, and Alex Bregman?
Yeah, going in order here, I think it bumps out Alex Bregman. I don't think this would make sense now, given that Bregman plays third base. But moving to the big two with Bo Bichette and Kyle Tucker, who we're still talking about now in January. The offseason moves slowly. But Bo Bichette can still very much be an option for the Blue Jays. That, of course, would likely be at second base, moving Clement to a super utility. You figure that out. And Kyle Tucker is still as clean a fit today as he was yesterday. The Blue Jays can still use him as an outfielder. Absolutely. He's the best player in the market for a reason. Now, the Blue Jays have spent a ton. It started with Dylan Cease. You had Cody Ponce, Tyler Rogers, and now Okamoto. But they have that money. They're acting like the big market team they are. Now, 5 years ago, I would have said, goodness, this has to be enough at this point. But this version of the Blue Jays begs me to ask, what's next? They have this money, they have the flexibility, and they have the motivation. When you get a taste of the World Series that close, there's no motivation like that. So I don't think that this puts the Blue Jays out on anyone. We don't know where those markets will go yet. And the Blue Jays are on that short list of teams that have to be considered for anyone and everyone. That's the position they've put themselves in. They deserve to be there, and I don't think they're done yet.
Well, Okamoto joins a Blue Jays team that led the majors in average and on-base percentage while striking out the second fewest times in 2025.
Passing came out in here saying breaking Japanese third baseman Kazuma Okamoto and the Toronto Blue Jays are in agreement on a free agent contract, sources tell ESPN. We were talking about this a day ago because his posting window was supposed to close this Sunday. Toronto was reportedly kind of interested, obviously interested enough to bring him to Canada.
Yeah, he is a phenomenal baseball player, and ever since 2018 over in the MPB, this guy has been a star. Look at the OPS numbers in 2018. He got 935, excuse me, got 828, 907. I'm going year by year right now. 871, 805, 958, 863. And what do all these years have in common? Well, he got a decent batting average, a good on base, and last year he really did pop off and put it all together. At 29 years old, he hit a 322 batting average with an on-base of 411. That's basically 90 points higher. That's absolutely phenomenal. 15 home runs and 51 RBIs. He's got a high floor corner infield with potential, elite bat-to-ball skills that fits with the Blue Jays' David Popkins approach. And the word on the street is this guy's a pretty good defender over at first base primarily, but can go play some third base and on occasion can go play some outfield, but not too much. So he's a very solid infielder for the Blue Jays. And I like the signing. Now, we don't have the details of exactly what that contract looks like right now, but based on some of the other MPB stars we've been seeing getting signed this winter that arguably were the more, tantalizing pieces, they didn't actually make that much. So it makes me feel like we're probably going to get a good deal. We'll confirm it in the comments when it comes out, but probably not a crazy big deal for this guy.
100%. I mean, the closest comparison I think you can make is Murakami, just because ultimately infield bad. Now, the one thing that people have been saying is that Okamoto has a higher floor than Murakami. However, it might be a lower ceiling because Murakami, if you know, he's loosely the Kyle Schwarber comparison over there in Japan. Like, the guy can just absolutely destroy home runs. And whilst Okamoto does have some power, it's not to that same extent.
Right.
However, his bat-to-ball skills, his on-base, significantly more consistent than Munetaka Murakami. So it'll be interesting to see how the contract reflects that. Do people pay for the floor? Do they pay for the ceiling?
Right.
Just for reference, Munetaka, he got a 2-year deal for $34 million. So if it's anything like that, I am over the moon, totally happy about this. Like, this is somebody that's going to come in, play right now for Toronto in a win-now mode. Fangraphs is projecting him to have a high 700 OPS, which is rather ludicrous from them, actually, because oftentimes they
under project, yeah,
with their projections. This is somebody that's never played an MLB, and they're saying, no, he's going to come in here, he's going to provide value, and if they do end up getting him at a 14, 15, 16 million dollar a year deal, steal.
And the benefit with that too is you go bringing a guy in with a low commitment in terms of term, then you don't have to feel bad. Okay, if he's not performing, I got to put this guy on the bench, but we got so much more time. Or if you got a logjam of players, you don't feel as bad that you have to get this investment to work out if other players start to perform around him. So it provides a little bit of flexibility, but again, we'll confirm you the deal when we know the deal. However, that also begs the question, well, what does this mean about some other free agents that we're looking at, which is Kyle Tucker, who's an outfielder, and Bo Bichette, who is an infielder. Second base is what he's looking at right now. You go add this guy, Kazuma Murakami, or Okamoto, excuse me. You're looking at right now at a logjam in that infield. You're moving Ernie Clement over to second base right now. You got Jimenez at shortstop. Does this mean that we're probably out on the Bo Bichette sweepstakes? I look at it right now and I'm thinking it means a lot less likely that we would be getting Bo Bichette back just because of that weird logjam. But again, if it's a 1-year deal, proven options, you might make it fit, but I think it's less likely now than it was before.
That's the thing, right? Like, obviously the contract will impact this a little bit. How much of a commitment have they made to Kazuma? If it is pretty big from the financial standpoint, then are they going to be feeling that great about going out and putting more money in the infield? I don't think so. If it's a 1-year deal, maybe that opens the door a little bit more for Bo Bichette. Now, ultimately, we have to answer the question here. Have we gotten better? How are you feeling about this offense now, adding in somebody that's got an extremely stable floor, that did it for 11 seasons over there in Japan? And by the way, even though he doesn't have a ton of power, I just scrolled past it now, I don't know where it is, but his home run numbers in Japan last year, they weren't great, but almost every season other than that, it was actually pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, well, he only played half the games in last year, right? So if you played a full 143 or 140, whatever games that he's played in the past, well, you're looking at basically double. You're looking at 30 home runs from the guy right there, and he is going to be in the middle of his career in his prime. Now, he's not going to hit 30 home runs probably in the MLB, but probably a 20 home run guy. Fangraphs has him as 18. They're under projecting a little bit, so you got to imagine he's around that 20 home run total. But yeah, to answer the question, does this make us better? Obviously it does. Does it make us better than having him over Bo Bichette? I can't necessarily prove that right now.
いかがでしたでしょうか。このチャンネルでは日本人メジャーリーガーなどを中心に野球情報をお届けしています。この動画が良かったら高評価、チャンネル登録をよろしくお願いいたします。今回も最後までご覧いただきありがとうございました。それではまた次の動画でお会いしましょう。